The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of St. Andrews University as Catherine Middleton hurried across the cobblestone courtyard, her dark hair catching the Scottish breeze. She clutched her art history books tightly against her chest, already running late for Professor Mitchell's lecture on Renaissance paintings. Little did she know that this ordinary Tuesday in September 2001 would change her life forever. In the same lecture hall, Prince William sat in the back row, trying to blend in with his fellow students. He wore a simple navy sweater and jeans, his sandy hair slightly messy from the morning rush. The young prince had specifically chosen St. Andrews to escape the constant attention of the media and experience something close to a normal university life. His protection officers sat discreetly nearby, but most students had grown accustomed to their presence. As Catherine slipped into the lecture hall, searching for an empty seat, she noticed the quiet blonde boy in the back. Their eyes met for just a moment, and she felt an unexpected flutter in her stomach. She quickly looked away and found a seat 3 rows ahead of him, focusing intently on her notebook, as Professor Mitchell began discussing Botticelli's techniques. After class, William found himself walking the same path as Catherine toward the student union. He had watched her take careful notes throughout the lecture and noticed how she raised her hand to ask thoughtful questions about the symbolism in classical paintings. There was something refreshing about her genuine interest in the subject matter, unlike some students who seemed more interested in being seen than learning. "Excuse me," William called out, quickening his pace to catch up with her. "You're in my art history class, right?" "I'm William." Catherine turned, surprised by his approach. Up close, she could see his kind blue eyes and genuine smile. "I'm Catherine, but everyone calls me Kate," she replied, shifting her books to shake his outstretched hand. "I noticed you asking about the religious symbolism in those paintings," William continued, falling into step beside her. "Are you planning to focus on religious art for your dissertation?" Kate smiled, pleased that someone had actually listened to her questions rather than just noticing her appearance. "I'm really fascinated by how artists used subtle symbols to convey deeper meanings, especially during periods when they couldn't be too obvious about their messages." Quote, "They talked animatedly about art as they walked, discovering they shared similar perspectives on many pieces they had studied." William was struck by Kate's intelligence and the way she expressed her ideas without trying to impress him. She treated him like any other student, asking about his opinions and even disagreeing with some of his interpretations in a friendly, academic way. Over the following weeks, their casual conversations after class became a regular occurrence. They would often grab coffee at the student cafe, discussing everything from their coursework to their favorite books and movies. William appreciated that Kate never asked about his royal duties or life in the palace. Instead, she seemed genuinely interested in his thoughts about literature, history, and his plans after university. Kate, meanwhile, found herself looking forward to these conversations more than she expected. William was thoughtful and funny, with a self-deprecating humor that made her laugh. He listened carefully when she spoke and remembered details from their previous conversations. She began to see past the prince and connect with the person underneath the title. Their friendship deepened during a particularly challenging art history project that required them to work in pairs. Professor Mitchell had assigned them to analyze the evolution of portrait painting techniques across 3 centuries. They spent countless hours in the library together, poring over art books and debating different interpretations of famous works. One evening, as they worked late in the quiet corner of the library, Kate noticed William seemed distracted. He kept glancing at his phone and checking his watch, with a worried expression. "Is everything okay?" she asked softly, setting down her pen. William hesitated, then sighed. "It's just, sometimes the pressure of everything back home feels overwhelming. Everyone has expectations about what I should do, who I should be. Sometimes I wonder if I'll ever just be allowed to be myself." Kate saw a vulnerability in his eyes that he rarely showed. Without thinking, she reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. "You know what I think? I think the fact that you're even questioning these things shows you're already being true to yourself. You could easily just accept everything without thinking about it, but you don't." William looked at her gratefully. "Thank you for saying that. And for treating me well, like William, instead of Prince William. That's because to me, you are just William, Kate replied simply. The title doesn't change who you are inside. As autumn turned to winter, their study sessions became more frequent, and their conversations grew more personal. They discovered they both loved skiing and hiking, shared similar values about family and responsibility, and had compatible senses of humor. William found himself calling Kate when he had a difficult day, and she began confiding in him about her own dreams and uncertainties about the future. The turning point came during a university charity fashion show in March 2002. Kate had reluctantly agreed to model in the event to help raise money for local charities. She felt nervous about walking down the runway, but the cause was important to her, and her friends had encouraged her to participate. William attended the fashion show with several classmates, not knowing Kate would be participating. When she appeared on the runway wearing an elegant black dress, he felt his breath catch. For the first time, he saw her not as his study partner and friend, but as a beautiful woman. The way she moved with quiet confidence, her radiant smile, and her natural grace captivated him completely. After the show, he waited for her outside the changing area, feeling nervous in a way he hadn't experienced before. Kate, you were amazing up there, he said when she emerged, back in her casual clothes but still glowing from the excitement of the evening. I was terrified. She laughed, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. I kept worrying I would trip and fall in front of everyone. You looked completely natural, William replied, his voice softer than usual. Actually, you looked beautiful. Kate felt her cheeks flush at the compliment. There was something different in the way William was looking at her, an intensity that made her heart race. Thank you, she said quietly, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. Kate, I was wondering. William began, then paused, seeming to gather his courage. Would you like to have dinner with me this weekend? Not as study partners, but as a proper date? Kate felt the world shift around her as she realized that their friendship was evolving into something deeper. She had grown to care for William more than she had admitted to herself, but she also understood the complications that would come with dating a prince. I would love to, she answered, surprising herself with how quickly and certainly the words came out. Their first official date was at a small Italian restaurant in the town, chosen for its intimate atmosphere and relative privacy. They talked for hours, the conversation flowing even more naturally than usual now that they had acknowledged their growing feelings. William was more relaxed than Kate had ever seen him, laughing easily and sharing stories from his childhood that he rarely told anyone. As he walked her back to her dormitory that evening, William took her hand. Kate, I want you to know that this won't be easy. Dating me comes with complications that most relationships don't have. Kate squeezed his hand gently. I know it won't be simple, William, but I also know that what I feel for you is real. And I think that's worth exploring, whatever complications might come. From that moment, their relationship blossomed into something beautiful and genuine. They managed to keep their romance relatively private during their remaining time at university, stealing quiet moments together between classes and enjoying simple pleasures like cooking together in William's shared house or taking long walks along the Scottish coast. William introduced Kate to his close friends gradually, and she won them over with her warmth and authenticity. She never tried to change herself to fit into his world, but rather remained the intelligent, kind, and down-to-earth person he had fallen in love with. Kate, in turn, introduced William to her family during university breaks, and he was embraced by the Middletons' warm and loving household. Their love story during those university years was marked by normal relationship milestones mixed with extraordinary circumstances. They had their first fight over a misunderstanding about weekend plans, made up over ice cream and long conversations, celebrated each other's academic successes, and supported each other through the stress of exams and papers. But underlying their happiness was the constant awareness that their relationship existed in a unique context. William knew that any woman he seriously dated would eventually face intense media scrutiny and public attention. Kate understood that loving William meant accepting a level of responsibility and public service that would fundamentally change her life. As their graduation approached in June 2005, both William and Kate felt the weight of decisions that lay ahead. William would soon begin his military training and take on more royal duties, while Kate faced uncertainty about her career path and their relationship's future. On their last night as university students, they sat together on the roof of William's house, looking out over the ancient city that had brought them together. The Scottish summer evening was mild, and they could hear the distant sounds of other students celebrating the end of their academic careers. "I can't imagine the last 4 years without you," William said, his arm around Kate as she leaned against his shoulder. "Neither can I," Kate replied softly. "But I'm scared about what comes next. Everything is going to change." William was quiet for a long moment. "Whatever happens, Kate, I want you to know that these have been the happiest years of my life. You've given me something I never thought I could have, the chance to be loved for who I really am." Kate turned to look at him, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. "You've given me that too, William. And no matter what the future holds, I'll always treasure what we've had here." As they held each other under the Scottish stars, both William and Kate understood that their university love story was ending, but neither could predict the journey that lay ahead. They had built something real and precious together, but they also knew that love alone might not be enough to overcome the challenges that awaited them in the real world beyond St. Andrews. The next morning brought graduation ceremonies, family celebrations, and the beginning of their adult lives. As they said goodbye to the place where they had fallen in love, both William and Kate carried with them the memory of a pure and simple romance that had grown from friendship into something deeper than either had expected to find. The years following their university graduation tested William and Kate's relationship in ways they never could have imagined during their carefree days at St. Andrews. The real world brought intense media scrutiny, royal protocols, and the crushing weight of public expectations that would challenge even the strongest bond. In the summer of 2005, Kate moved to London and took a job with Jigsaw, a fashion accessories company owned by family friends. She threw herself into work, learning about photography and marketing while trying to build a career independent of her relationship with William. Meanwhile, William entered the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, beginning his officer training with the same dedication he had shown to his studies. The couple tried to maintain their relationship despite their demanding schedules and the growing media attention. Photographers began following Kate to work, camping outside her apartment, and analyzing her every outfit choice and public appearance. Headlines speculated about engagement announcements, while royal commentators debated whether a commoner could successfully marry into the royal family. Kate handled the pressure with remarkable grace, never speaking to journalists or responding to the increasingly intrusive coverage. But the stress was taking its toll. She lost weight from the constant scrutiny and found it difficult to maintain normal friendships when every outing risked becoming a media spectacle. William, meanwhile, was struggling with his own challenges. His military training was rigorous and all-consuming, leaving little time for personal relationships. More significantly, he was grappling with the enormous responsibility that awaited him as future king. Palace advisors and senior royals constantly reminded him of his duty to the monarchy and the importance of every decision he made. During this period, the couple's time together became precious and rare. They would steal weekends at Balmoral or meet quietly at friends' houses. But even these private moments felt overshadowed by the knowledge that their relationship was being dissected by the press and palace officials. The breaking point came in early 2007. William had just completed his military training and was preparing to begin his service with the Blues and Royals Regiment. The pressure from all sides had been building for months. Palace courtiers subtly suggested that William should focus on his military career before making any serious personal commitments. The media speculation about their relationship had reached fever pitch, with some newspapers already planning coverage of a supposed engagement that didn't exist. One cold February evening, William called Kate and asked to meet her at a quiet restaurant in Chelsea. Kate sensed something was wrong from his tone, but she agreed to see him. She dressed carefully, choosing a simple black dress that had become one of his favorites, hoping that whatever was troubling him could be resolved through conversation. When she arrived at the restaurant, William was already seated at a corner table, looking more serious than she had ever seen him. He stood to kiss her cheek, but there was a stiffness in his manner that made her stomach clench with worry. "Kate, we need to talk," he began, after they had ordered, his hands clasped tightly on the table between them. "I can see that," Kate replied gently. "What's wrong, William? You've seemed distant for weeks." William struggled to find the right words. How could he explain the pressure he was under? How could he make her understand that every senior royal advisor had expressed concerns about their relationship? Not because Kate wasn't wonderful, everyone who met her was charmed by her intelligence and grace, but because the timing felt wrong for a serious commitment. "It's everything," William finally said, his voice strained. "The military, the duties I'm being asked to take on, the expectations. Kate, I feel like I'm drowning in responsibilities, and I don't know how to balance it all." Kate reached across the table to touch his hand, but William gently pulled away. The small gesture hurt more than any words could have. "I'm scared that I'm not being fair to you," William continued, avoiding her eyes. "This life, this pressure, it's what I was born into, but it's not what you signed up for when we met at university. I watch what the press does to you, how they follow you and judge everything you do, and I hate that I'm the reason for it." "William, I knew this wouldn't be easy," Kate said quietly. "I made that choice when we started dating. I can handle the media attention. But should you have to?" William asked, finally meeting her gaze. "Kate, you're 25 years old. You should be able to go out with friends without photographers following you. You should be able to focus on your career without people speculating about whether you're going to become a princess. You should be able to date someone who can give you a normal life." Kate felt her heart breaking as she realized where the conversation was heading. "Are you saying you don't want to be with me anymore?" I'm saying that I don't know if I can give you what you deserve right now," William replied, his voice thick with emotion. "I need time to figure out who I'm supposed to be, to understand my role in the military and in the monarchy. And I think you need time to live your life without all this pressure and scrutiny." The restaurant felt silent around them, though Kate knew other diners were continuing their conversations. She sat back in her chair, trying to process what William was telling her. "So this is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "After everything we've been through, you're just giving up?" William's face crumpled slightly. "I'm not giving up, Kate. I'm trying to do what's right for both of us. Maybe someday, when I've figured out how to balance everything, when the timing is better." "Don't," Kate interrupted, finding strength in her anger. "Don't make this about someday, or maybe. If you want to end our relationship, then be honest about it. Don't make it sound like you're doing me a favor." William nodded, accepting her rebuke. "You're right. I'm sorry. Kate, I love you, but I can't be the partner you deserve right now. I can't give you the certainty and stability you need." Kate sat quietly for a long moment, tears threatening but not falling. She had known this conversation might come, but she hadn't expected it to hurt quite so much. She had been prepared to fight for their relationship, but she couldn't fight William's own doubts about their future. "I understand," she finally said, her voice steady despite the pain. "I don't agree with your decision, but I understand it." They barely touched their food during the rest of dinner, making awkward small talk about mutual friends and work. When William walked her to her car, they stood facing each other on the quiet street, both knowing this was goodbye. "Kate, I want you to know that these past few years with you have been the best of my life," William said, his voice breaking slightly. "I hope someday you'll understand why I had to do this." Kate looked at him for a long moment, memorizing his face. "I hope someday you'll understand what you're giving up," she replied softly. They didn't kiss goodbye. They didn't hug. Kate simply got into her car and drove away, leaving William standing alone on the sidewalk, already questioning whether he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. The breakup remained private for several weeks, but eventually the media caught on. Kate's absence from royal events and the couple's separate social activities sparked speculation that was soon confirmed by palace sources. The press coverage was brutal, with some newspapers suggesting Kate hadn't been royal material, while others painted William as heartless for abandoning the woman who had supported him through his military training. Kate handled the public aftermath with the same dignity she had shown throughout their relationship. She never spoke to the press about the breakup, never tried to defend herself against unfair coverage, and maintained her composure even when photographers camped outside her workplace, hoping to catch her looking upset. Privately, the separation was devastating for both of them. Kate threw herself into work and spent time with friends, but she found it difficult to move forward when everything in London reminded her of William. She considered moving abroad or taking a different job, anything to escape the constant reminders of what they had lost. William, meanwhile, was discovering that his noble intentions about focusing on his duties felt hollow without Kate to share his successes and support him through challenges. His military training felt mechanical, and social events that once brought him joy now felt empty. He found himself constantly wondering what Kate was doing, whether she was happy, and whether she would ever forgive him for the choice he had made. Friends of both William and Kate were dismayed by the breakup. Many had assumed the couple would eventually marry and had seen how happy they made each other. Some of William's closest friends weren't shy about telling him they thought he had made a mistake, while Kate's friends rallied around her, admiring her strength while privately hoping the separation wouldn't be permanent. The months following their breakup were a dark period for both William and Kate. They had to learn how to be individuals again, after years of being half of a couple. They both dated other people occasionally, but neither relationship felt significant or lasting. The easy connection and deep understanding they had shared seemed impossible to replicate with anyone else. As spring turned to summer in 2007, both William and Kate began to question whether their breakup had been the right decision. The space William had thought he needed hadn't brought him clarity about his future. Instead, it had made him realize that Kate had been an anchor in his life, not a burden. The freedom Kate had gained felt empty without someone who truly understood and cared for her to share it with. But pride and uncertainty kept them apart. William worried that reaching out to Kate would be unfair after he had been the one to end things. Kate worried that contacting William would make her seem desperate or unable to move on. Both were afraid of rejection and unsure whether the fundamental issues that had led to their breakup had actually been resolved. The silence between them stretched on. Two people who had once shared everything now too afraid to pick up the phone and admit they had made a mistake. The summer of 2007 brought a chance encounter that would change everything for William and Kate. Neither had planned to attend the concert for Diana's memorial, but fate seemed determined to bring them back into each other's orbit. The Wembley Stadium was filled with 60,000 people, yet when William spotted Kate in the crowd during the intermission, it felt as if they were the only two people in the world. Kate was there with her brother James, having purchased tickets months earlier when they were still together. She had considered not attending, knowing William would be there in his official capacity. But something had compelled her to go. When she saw William on stage with Harry during the opening remarks, her heart ached with both pride and longing. William had been struggling through the formal aspects of the memorial event, putting on a brave face while internally mourning not just his mother, but also the relationship he had thrown away. When he caught sight of Kate's familiar face in the sea of strangers, he felt a jolt of electricity that reminded him of their first meeting at university. After the concert, William found himself scanning the crowds as people filed out of the stadium. He couldn't shake the feeling that seeing Kate had been more than coincidence. Harry, noticing his brother's distraction, followed his gaze and spotted Kate walking with her brother toward the exit. "You should go talk to her," Harry said quietly, placing a hand on William's shoulder. "I can't," William replied, but his feet were already moving in her direction. "What would I say? That I was wrong? That I've regretted our breakup every day since it happened? That would be a start," Harry encouraged, giving his brother a gentle push forward. Meanwhile, Kate had also seen William and was fighting every instinct that told her to approach him. She missed him desperately, but she had spent months rebuilding her confidence and independence. She wasn't sure she was ready to risk having her heart broken again. James noticed his sister's internal struggle and stopped walking. "Kate, if you want to talk to him, just do it. Life's too short for regrets." "What if he doesn't want to see me?" Kate whispered, her eyes still tracking William's movement through the crowd. "Then, at least you'll know," James replied. "But from the way he's been looking in your direction for the past 10 minutes, I don't think that's going to be a problem." Taking a deep breath, Kate made the decision that would reshape her future. She excused herself from James and made her way through the dispersing crowd toward William, who was still surrounded by security personnel and royal officials. When William saw Kate approaching, he felt his chest tighten with nerves and hope. She looked beautiful and confident, her hair longer than when they had been together. Her smile, tentative, but genuine. The months apart had changed them both, but the fundamental connection between them was as strong as ever. "Hello, William," Kate said softly when she reached him, her voice carrying over the noise of the crowd. "Kate," William replied, his formal composure cracking slightly. "I'm so glad you came tonight. Mum would have loved this concert." They stood awkwardly for a moment. Years of shared intimacy, made strange by months of separation. Around them, William's protection team and royal handlers waited patiently. But both William and Kate were acutely aware they were having a private moment in a very public space. Would it be possible to talk sometime?" William asked, his usual confidence replaced by nervous uncertainty. "I know I don't have the right to ask, but there are things I need to say to you." Kate felt her heart racing, but she kept her voice steady. "I think I'd like that," she replied. "When were you thinking? Are you free tomorrow evening?" William asked hopefully. "We could meet somewhere private, away from all this." He gestured vaguely at the crowds and cameras surrounding them. "Yes," Kate said simply, then added with a small smile. As Kate walked away to rejoin her brother, William watched her go with a mixture of relief and terror. He had taken the first step toward what he hoped might be reconciliation, but he wasn't sure Kate would be willing to forgive him for the pain he had caused. The next evening, they met at a private members' club in Mayfair, chosen for its discretion and lack of media attention. William arrived first, pacing nervously in a quiet lounge area, while rehearsing what he wanted to say. When Kate arrived, wearing a simple blue dress that reminded him of their university days, he felt his carefully planned speech disappear from his mind. "Thank you for agreeing to see me," William began as they settled into comfortable chairs near a fireplace. "I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't sure I would either," Kate admitted honestly. "But I realized I needed to hear what you wanted to say." William took a deep breath and began the conversation that would determine their future. "Kate, I need you to know that ending our relationship was the biggest mistake I've ever made. I thought I was being noble, protecting you from the pressures of my life. But really, I was just scared." Kate listened without interrupting, her face carefully neutral. She had imagined this conversation countless times over the past months, but now that it was happening, she felt surprisingly calm. "I was scared of how much I loved you," William continued, his voice growing stronger as he found his courage. "I was scared that I couldn't be the man you deserved while trying to figure out my own role and responsibilities. But these months apart have taught me that I don't want to figure out anything without you." "William," Kate said gently, "it's not that simple. You didn't just break up with me. You made me feel like loving you was a burden, like I was something holding you back from your real life." William's face fell as he realized the deeper hurt his decision had caused. "That was never true, Kate. You were never holding me back. If anything, you made me want to be better, to be worthy of you." They talked for hours that evening, working through the pain and misunderstandings that had led to their separation. Kate expressed her hurt at being abandoned when she needed William's support most. William admitted his fear that he couldn't protect her from the harsh realities of royal life while still learning to navigate them himself. "I don't need you to protect me from everything," Kate explained. "I need you to trust me to handle the challenges that come with loving you. I need to be your partner, not someone you shield from your real life. I need you. I need you to trust me. I need you to trust me." William nodded, beginning to understand where he had gone wrong. "I thought love meant keeping you safe from anything difficult. But that's not partnership, is it? That's just me making decisions for both of us." As the evening progressed, the conversation became less about their past mistakes and more about their hopes for the future. They talked about what they had learned during their time apart, how they had both grown as individuals, and what a renewed relationship might look like. "I'm not the same person I was when we broke up," Kate said toward the end of the evening. "These months have taught me that I can stand on my own, that I don't need anyone else to define my worth. If we try again, it has to be because we want to build something together, not because either of us is incomplete alone." "I understand," William replied. "And I'm not the same either. I've learned that duty and love don't have to be in conflict. In fact, I think I can serve my role better with you beside me than I ever could alone." They agreed to take things slowly, to rebuild their relationship on a stronger foundation than before. Over the following weeks, they began spending time together again. But with new ground rules, they would be honest about the challenges they faced. They would make decisions together, and they would not let outside pressures dictate the terms of their relationship. Their reunion was kept private initially, but gradually their friends and family realized that William and Kate were finding their way back to each other. The Queen, who had always been fond of Kate, expressed her quiet approval. Kate's family welcomed William back warmly, having seen how much Kate had missed him during their separation. The media eventually caught on to their reconciliation, but this time, William was more protective of their relationship. He learned to set boundaries with the press and to shield Kate from the worst of the intrusive coverage. Kate, meanwhile, had developed thicker skin during their time apart and was better equipped to handle public scrutiny. Their relationship the second time around was deeper and more mature than it had been before. They had both faced the possibility of losing each other forever, and that knowledge made them more appreciative of what they had together. They communicated more openly about their fears and hopes, and they made an effort to support each other's individual goals and interests. By late 2007, it was clear to everyone around them that William and Kate had not just reconciled, they had built something stronger than what they had lost. They began discussing their future more seriously, with William finally ready to make the commitment he had been too frightened to make before. The proposal, when it finally came in 2010, was everything their relationship had become: thoughtful, deeply personal, and rooted in their shared experiences. William chose his mother's engagement ring, a gesture that honored Diana's memory while symbolizing his commitment to Kate. He proposed during a private vacation in Kenya, at a place where they could be completely themselves, without any royal protocol or media attention. "Kate," William said as he knelt in the African sunset, "I know I almost lost you once because I was too scared to trust in our love. I'm not scared anymore. Will you marry me?" Through tears of joy, Kate said yes, knowing that they had both grown into people capable of the partnership they were promising each other. Their engagement announcement sparked worldwide celebration. But for William and Kate, the real victory was private. They had found their way back to each other through honesty, growth, and a love strong enough to survive separation and uncertainty. As they planned their wedding for April 2011, both William and Kate reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. They had learned that true love isn't about finding someone perfect, but about choosing to grow together through whatever challenges life presents. Their silent farewell had nearly ended their story, but their courage to try again had written a new chapter that would inspire millions around the world. Their wedding day was a celebration not just of their love, but of the resilience and commitment that had carried them through their darkest moments. As Kate walked down the aisle of Westminster Abbey toward William, both of them knew that they were not just promising to love each other in good times, but committing to weather whatever storms might come. Together, the story of William and Kate's love became a modern fairy tale. But its true magic lay not in its perfection, but in its honesty about the work that real love requires. They had learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone go, and sometimes the greatest act of courage is fighting to find your way back to each other.